Carl, a hard-fought 3 points on a long journey to Sutton tonight. What do you make of that?
Hard fought's a good way to describe it, Jack. I thought it was a game of two halves in the sense that in the first half we had so much ball, but we weren't penetrating, we weren't creating clear-cut opportunities, so it was becoming stagnant possession. So then you have to try and obviously find a solution to that. You know, there was space in behind the back line, but the quality of our pass over the opposition wasn't great. We went in at half time and we just looked at a few scenarios where we could test them more in behind with better quality, and that's where the goal comes from. You know, Boots drops out and delivers into the back space and we get the penalty. But after that, in terms of the performance, I didn't like the impossession. You know, we relinquished too much control and it became a game that they wanted, where it was a bit end to end and we couldn't sustain possession. But the character and the aggressive nature of our defending was just superb, you know. So from that perspective, which is what I asked for, you know, I knew it was going to be tough and physical, and they stood up to it unbelievably well. I mean, the defending was outstanding. So we've shown both sides of our game to an extent, but still a lot to do in possession, and we've got to be better at finding solutions against those sorts of sides.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned the aggression side of things there. It was something that you mentioned after Saturday's game in wanting more of, and I think before today's game as well. So how pleasing is it to have seen that tonight?
Love it. As an ex-defender myself, I could see some of the grimace on the lads' faces when they're going to head the ball, and you know, when they're getting the blocks in, and you know, really competing. You know, I loved it. Loved that sort of high arousal to really want to defend the goal and keep a clean sheet, and that enthusiasm and that willingness to hold on to our lead was fantastic. So I can't ask for any more than that, and we've got to harness that and keep that going forward.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned that side, obviously getting a clean sheet as well, and maybe grinding things out, not something a Gateshead team are particularly known for, in the sense that wins maybe come by a bit of a bigger margin and a bit more free flowing in that sense. But how pleasing is it to get that side of things, especially when, like you say, you know, on the training pitch and things, you haven't had a huge amount of time, and so that side has kind of had to come through to get your win tonight?
Yeah, we haven't had a great, you know, there hasn't been great time in between games to get that detail in. Next week's a great opportunity to do that, just to replicate what happened tonight. I mean, it is slightly unusual that you come away from home and the opposition sort of sit in that block the way they did. You know, you could hear the comments from their fans wanting them to be more aggressive, and I felt like they may press us a little bit higher, so we prepared for that. But we have to be more adaptable when teams want to just sit a little bit deeper. So yeah, it was a good test, and it highlighted areas that we need to get better at. So next week we've got loads to work at, loads of scenarios that we can replay with them, and we can be smoother in terms of getting the ball in better positions to hurt teams in the space behind, because we have the players to do it, and the likes of Owen and Javon who can really stretch with their pace. So yeah, it was a good learning night from that perspective.
Yeah, a word on the supporters as well. Obviously, it's a long trip for yourselves, and just as long a trip for them in the away end on a Wednesday night, where I imagine quite a few of them will have to take the day off work to come down and things like that. But ultimately, pleasing to send them home with 3 points and something to sort of shout about as well.
Yeah, of course. Look, they've got 3 points, and that's, in football, is the most important thing. We want to win well, and we want to win looking more like us. However, you know, early stages have taken over, and you know, seeing the reaction after the game was brilliant. Yeah, it's priceless, that feeling. You know, that's what we're in it for, and it's great that they can join in on that. Fantastic effort from the fans that did come down, and it is always greatly appreciated. That's why the boys always go over, win, lose or draw, and show that appreciation. But it is always a lovely feeling for them to head back to Gateshead with 3 points.